Last time on Dragon Ball Z, after an ear-splitting separation, Majin Buu made his way out of the Spirit and Time waiting room and onto the lookout floor, where he proceeded to give the Earth's last remaining residents a horrifying taste of his baking prowess. Gotenks, disappointed by the lack of showmanship, but seeing no other way around it, finally unveiled to Big Green the final ace up his sleeves, turning Super Saiyan 3 and delivering a gargantuan shout that not only split Piccolo's ears, but the dimensional barrier itself, creating a rift that allowed the Earth's final two defenders to dive their way back home, just in time to see Buu wiping the crumbs from his face after his most recent victory dinner. With the losses mounting, Gotenks appeared to finally understand the seriousness of the situation, charging his ki and bringing the fight to Buu in a way never seen before. But the remaining Z-homies weren't the only victims crushed by Buu's antics, with the fight between the Battle of the Big Mouths leaving the entirety of the lookout in shambles as the battle raged on. After some coaching by the now homeless Big Green, Gotenks served up yet another unorthodox attack from his eclectic toolbox, turning Majin Buu into a ball only to set and spike him into the Earth's core for what they hoped would be critical damage. As Gotenks and Green made their way to the massive chasm that Buu was now calling home, it took a few moments for Gotenks to adjust his pajama bottoms and hop off his own meat before asking what the holdup was. "Get out here, Buu, you're acting as faker than Satan's win record. I know that wasn't enough to finish you off. Look, I can only stay super strong and Omega cool like this for a few more minutes, so if you're really trying to run this 30, you better do it now before we have to wait a full hour before I smash your Play-Doh in again." That appeared to trigger a response, because in the next moment, an enormous wave of energy escaped from the pit below, with Gotenks narrowly escaping the blast before getting his remaining body hair singed off. Piccolo stood in disbelief at the reckless display of power, commenting on how if a blast like that happened to shift direction just slightly, the totality of the Earth would have gotten put on the grill prematurely. Gotenks, on the other hand, was much less introspective, instead opting for a more hands-on approach and tapping into his Vegeta genetics to deliver upon Buu a death missile chain. Nice try, Goten, but no matter what you call it, an energy blast volley is an energy blast volley. I don't care how fancy you try to make it sound. All my OGs out here will get where I'm coming from with this. Y'all remember how back in the original Budokai they have all those fancy ass attack names for the different characters, which all boiled down to throwing a dude on the floor and hitting him with an energy blast volley? I used to get so tight about that. Had the nerve to call these moves something sick like Goku's continuous Kamehameha or Genyu's Parmesan shower. The capsule activates, then I gotta sit there and waste 7 seconds watching these characters get in their Vegeta bag with these repeat animations, wasting a perfectly good move slot. I swear on Kami, if Spark and Neo pulls one of these, I'm gonna be cooking that game up faster than Yajirobe on the 4th. But I digress. Returning to Gotenks' disappointing display, Majin Buu emerged from the hole looking dusty, but all in all, none the worse for wear. Man, who could have guessed that an energy blast volley wouldn't do the job against Majin Buu, right? The best part of this section though was how wild Gotenks was going with the blast. Little homie was prepared to have that whole planet looking like a slice of fermented dairy until Piccolo had to give the little Ningen a quick pep talk and remind him that if he gets a little too comfy going scorched earth, all it would take is one of the Dragon Balls getting put in the pack for the whole plan to go up in smoke. Around the way, rather than the self-satisfied smirk that seemed to be permanently etched on his pink pigmentation, Buu was now looking a great deal less refined. "Alright kid, you may not have done permanent damage to his body, but I'm very familiar with what getting mentally touched looks like, and Majin Buu is currently a salt factory if I've ever seen it. We're talking LeBron and J.R. Smith in the NBA Finals salty. You know what that means? Anything goes. Be careful from here on out, boy. I know you like to feel yourself, but the only thing you're going to be feeling is the leather on King Yemma's sofa if you underestimate Buu just because you got a couple good licks in. Desperate animals are dangerous animals." Whatever, old man. Where'd you read that on the back of a fortune cookie somewhere? I don't got time for. But Majin Buu certainly did, paying Gotenks back for that headbutt in the time chamber earlier and looking to follow that up with a 2-piece and a biscuit hold to drink. But the boys weren't hungry, quickly shifting direction and blowing Buu's back out, sending every ounce of his chocolate-filled gut through damn near every building remaining within the ruined city. As Gotenks was in hot pursuit, Majin Buu finally embraced the Looney Tunes-ass nature of this whole fight and shot out a mouth blast that could be seen all the way from Elon Musk's secret bunker on the moon. And as the devastation clears, we see this fella Gotenks on his Wile E. Coyote timing, completely covered in soot and debris, looking like he just took one of those Acme dynamite sticks straight to the medulla, complete with a missing tooth and all. But as y'all know, Goten is the king of petty, and after deciding that one hot-ass line of breath deserves another, blurted out a nasty mouth beam that would have made his Uncle Nappa proud, showing Buu he wasn't the only one capable of Animaniacs tier violence. I would have loved to see Toriyama go full in on the bit too, just having Buu drop a piano on Gotenks' head or something, then the next frame he's got a goose egg and a mouthful of ivory, taking all his old-ass men in the audience back to our childhoods. Following that mouth blast, can't even lie to you, Gotenks started to go to work on Majin Buu full throttle. And I mean just beating the tar out of this poor pink bastard. Even his ancestors were feeling that work. I know there's got to be a couple of Kai still chilling in his small intestine talking about keep it down up there type energy. It was getting so hype, you had Goku posted up in front of Elder Kai's crystal ball like it was the NBA Finals. Mouth damn near watering at this wreck Super Buu was finally catching. And right as we see a severely damaged Buu reeling back and preparing to hang his jean shorts on the wall like he's John Cena preparing for his WWE retirement, Gotenks is in the middle of his Kamehameha pop-off when this bozo downgrades back to base form before he can hit the final blow, and everybody watching this fiasco take place in real time dies a little bit inside as the reality of how utterly screwed they are begins to take effect. It reminds me of that one Simpsons gag where Bart's chilling with Lisa and he's like, look sis, you can pinpoint the exact moment where his heart breaks in half. Literally watching these folks' will to live fade away in real time. You hate to see it. Meanwhile, this man Majin Buu, after peeping the de-evolution back into frog tanks, feels his gumballs expand at least 4 times the size and starts giggling to himself about how he's gonna mercy kill this fella. What had me extra weak about this though is while Gotenks is trying to cope with the fact that he's about to get beat worse than an incel's meat after 9 p.m, but he can't help but say out loud, look, as bad as this is, we have to admit it's kind of funny even to me. It's that type of awareness that makes Gotenks a solid gold character. And on an even bigger note, Z homies, one thing I've really come to love about DBZ the more I age. When your boy reflects on his changing relationship with DBZ over the years as a factor in his life, I've realized that back in my younger days, I came to DBZ for the flashy fights, right? It was so much fun seeing the transformations, the melodrama, the insane choreography in some episodes. It was all so badass and just fun to watch. Then in my teenage years, I think I started to appreciate some of the characters a lot more, gaining a lot from the characters' personal values like Goku's perseverance, Vegeta's self-confidence, Mrs. Brief's apple bottoms, you know, the important stuff. But revisiting the series with y'all has made me gain a real appreciation for Sensei Toriyama's sense of humor and how his ability to keep Dragon Ball fun despite how over the top the stakes get at times. No matter how bad the situation was looking for Earth, Toriyama was never above a good nutshot, boob joke, or some random gag. And while it may seem out of place at first, in so many ways it gives Dragon Ball the character and identity that it has. And it's also the reason I feel like so many fan projects and things like that suffer, and just why no one else can seem to recreate Toriyama's formula no matter how hard they try. A lot of projects looking to emulate Dragon Ball lean super hard into the edgy power scaling aspect of it. And my goal isn't to downplay that or talk down to anyone. We all appreciate Dragon Ball for our own reasons. But I think those kind of takes from the series always miss the mark just a bit because they don't acknowledge how humor and the mixture of lightheartedness with severe repercussions Sensei Toriyama was able to balance as a key ingredient to the Dragon Ball pie. Characters like Gotenks and Mr. Satan used to get on my nerves so bad as a kid because I always felt like screen time with them was a waste that we could be seeing the main characters boxing or Goku charging up or something. But as a grown fella, these are now a couple of my favorite characters due to how grounded they are despite the absolute ridiculousness of the circumstances they've been thrown into and the genuinely hilarious way they're written at times, juxtaposed with the apocalyptic circumstances of the arcs they're introduced in. Just goes to show why Dragon Ball is timeless. No matter how old you get or how many times you come back to the series, there's always something new to discover or appreciate. Speaking of old, back on the planet of the Kais, Goku's on the verge of dying twice after finally realizing after peeping Gotenks' exhibition against Buu that he may have pooped the bed leaving the Earth's fate in the hands of 2 kids who combined ages barely hit double digits. You can go down now, Gohan. You were ready a while ago. The whole crew damn near fainted hearing old Kai utter those words. Yeah, you've been good for like 5 minutes now. I was wondering why you were still standing there with your mouth open. As the shock wore off and the emotions turned to frustration, Gohan let out a pain, but why though? What, are you slow? It's more dramatic that way. Now get out of my light. They say Gojo might be coming back in this chapter. Wait, old man, I still feel pretty basic. How do I go ultimate or whatever? Us OGs call it mystic, but whatever. Just pretend you're going super the hell it's called and you'll get your power boost. That's simple. Wasting no more time, Gohan took a power stance and began ki charging. In a short order, it became apparent that the Kai's unorthodox ritual, crop dusting and all, had paid off immensely. The look of utter shock on Goku's face was all the confirmation that was needed. Looking down on his own hands in disbelief, it finally happened. Gohan had once again retaken his place on the tier list of DBZ power scaling and was now firmly entrenched as that guy. Goku could barely contain his excitement at his son, commenting on the absolutely extraordinary increase in power, despite the fact that his son hadn't transformed at all. The Kai made a brief comment that was so cool and one that I absolutely would be geeked to see the repercussions of if the series decided to go that direction. After hearing Goku's comments about Gohan achieving that level of power without a transformation, Kai fires off a shot in the whole Saiyan way of life, telling him that transforming is low-key overrated, and essentially that the Super Saiyan transformation is all a bunch of smoke and mirror nonsense. I know all my Dragon Ball homies in the power scaling community about lost their lunch after hearing that. This goes back to what I was chopping it up with y'all all the way back in the late Cell Saga when Green and 17 were scrapping, where I was getting into how cool it would have been to see the series lean into the uniqueness of each character's abilities, as well as their personal form of martial arts rather than the emphasis on transformations and power boosting. I love the show all the same, but thinking about how varied this could have made things and how it could potentially knock the dust off of some of these characters who haven't been relevant since Goku had a tail and a double-digit body count really hydrates my cactus. And along with the Elder Kai bars, we also get one of the best character moments between Goku and Gohan in this space of time as well. Kibito, finally coming out of his hater arc, decides that Gohan is one of the good Ningans, and offers the instant transmission on back to Earth to put the finishing touches on Majin Buu's extended Earthside vacation. Kaioshin offers to go down and get busy with the Alpha Ningen as well, but Kibito just looks at his better half straight in the eye and tells him it's a no-go. Their ass. Arguably have been since the very beginning of the arc, and the only thing going planet side with Gohan will do now is give him 3 bullets to catch the chest rather than 1 that he'll be taking when dealing with Majin Buu alone. And despite how extra weak it made him look in front of the Elder Kai, though by this point the bar was already lower than Krillin's booster seat, he had to agree that they let the young man do his hero thing without extra baggage. And that's when his fellow son Goku stepped up to the plate and gave his condolences as well, informing him that as much as he hates to do it, he has to respect his retirement and let Bronny get some limelight, though he would have loved to have one more year with the Lakers to see his boy go to work. And y'all, as much as I've been guilty of the Goku is an awful Pops meme and throwing the bad dad allegations on him myself, this man really does love this boy Gohan and has had the strongest of faith in him, even when the world itself was on the line and everyone else thought he was crazy. Toriyama, the broadcast team, they all did an absolutely amazing job of conveying the emotion in this scene. You can truly feel the pride Goku has in his son. Not an ounce of ego or wishing that he was one that got the supreme head start, just a dad reveling in the man his son has become and passing the torch with joy, knowing the human he raised is a solid one and is capable of taking care of the business that needs to be handled. It's damn near enough to put a tear in your eye if I'm going to keep it a whole buck, and wouldn't be the first time DBZ has had me crying outside the club.
It's enough to make a grown man cry.
As Goku tells his son he'll see him on the other side when the time comes, the two embrace, and it's one of the coolest damn things that's shown in media. Two fellas can't even shoot each other a compliment or dap one another up nowadays without being accused of glazing or suspect activities in these streets. So seeing a healthy showcase of physical affection between a father and son is beyond desperately needed, especially in a day and age where fatherless activities are in a surplus. With the farewells being bid and Elder Kai not getting a single bit of respect for his role in saving the arc, Gohan lands on ground zero, primed and ready to pop out and show fellas. But there's one thing that he needs to do before the work begins. Before the land of the Kai's A1 hater makes his return, Gohan requests a fit check, having Kibbles drip him out in his dad's battle gear before shooting the deuces and introducing himself to the Pink Phenom. As one of the originators in populating the term aura here in the States, I feel it's only right to give DBZ and specifically this fella Gohan his flowers here. While the vast majority know exactly how crazy he's about to be made to look by the time this hour's up, I'll be damned if seeing our boy Ultimate Gohan, or Top G if you will, decked out in his father's battle gear looking more calm and confident than we've ever seen him, doesn't epitomize the very essence of aura. There was just something about the way the team handled his entrance, man. It low-key reminded me of when Goku first arrived on Namek, where the whole world was damn near upside down, but when our boy popped out of that pod, we just knew the tides were about to turn and a regulation was in progress. Top G's arrival to Earth parallels this moment so much. The moment of silence before getting to the Buu beatdown, we take a moment as the camera pans to get a full shot of the young man in all his mystic glory, before zooming in on his face as he takes in a breath of fresh air and decides that it's time to act up. It's something that Big Green is going to comment on later, but there's no signs of the usual anxiety and doubt flung across Gohan's face that's reared its head in damn near every scrap before this. And it feels different from the rage that took him over after 16 got kicked to the curb as well. Our homie Gohan is in rare form. There's a quiet confidence surrounding him that as a viewer, you can't help but be like, oh shit, as we wait and see how this new version of our familiar hero is going to handle the problems that have proved impossible for all those that have come before. Other than his mighty father-in-law, of course. Speaking of which, our view returns to Green and the boys who are in the middle of trying to finish their wills before Buu's patience runs out. By this point, even their base form fusion has run out, and their fear was about as subtle as a hand grenade and a barrel full of oatmeal. Well, boys, guess the least I could do at this point is to go out swinging with you. If we all die together, maybe we'll share seats on the bus and I can cuss you out in hell, too. And right as it appeared Majin Buu is preparing to rush forward for an offensive, his weight shifts, and before they can even decide which god to thank, Buu is sitting crisscross applesauce in front of him, napping without a care in the world. For all my Baki heads out there, this reminds me so much of when that boy Pickle got unthawed and proceeded to enter straight REM sleep while standing in front of the whole roster of the main cast because their scouter readings were so low, his body couldn't even pretend to be threatened by him. Piccolo thought for sure that had to be a bluff, positive that the moment they got a little too comfortable and turned their back, they would be guaranteed members of the Boxer Shorts Chocolate Brigade. But Buu's sleep wound up being very short-lived as a force of nature that can no longer be ignored made his way to the battleground. And right here, with the winds of change beginning to take hold, is where we'll call it. Tune in next time, homies, as Mystic Gohan takes the stage. This new Gohan has changed so much that even his old mentor Piccolo barely recognizes the young man he sees in front of him. Will the warrior's newly awakened powers be enough to finally stop the reign of Majin Buu? Or will Gohan be just another name on Majin Buu's grocery list? Only one way to find out. Be easy, y'all, and catch you again in the next video.